Hi, George. Welcome
Hi
to
there.
Altspace. I know that you're new to Altspace. This is, in fact, only your first time in here,
Yeah,
and I
yeah, no,
understand that
it's me.
you're on a laptop. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, I've only just installed it. It's actually quite interesting. It was quite an easy install.
So you've got no hands because I'm in a Quest, which means I get hands, and sadly you
Yeah,
don't have any hands because you're on a laptop. But other than that, everything that I can do in Altspace, you can do on a laptop. In fact,
yeah.
you can do a few extra things, which I'll probably talk to you about later. But the reason I've asked you to come in here is I understand that you're a student at the moment doing your research dissertation. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
And because of the current situation with the COVID-19 and the need for us all to socially distance, I also understand that within universities at the moment, there's a bit of a problem for students being able to carry out this primary research. That's correct.
Yeah, yeah. Well, obviously, we can't do as much of our research because we're a well, we're all isolated, aren't we?
So what kind of things have the university told you that you could do to try to fix this problem, or what can you do in this situation? What they told you?
They've said to use video conferencing and basically questionnaires through emails and such.
Okay, and presumably to contact people via social media and
Yeah, yeah,
other
using
methods.
Facebooks and Skype and well, anything you really can to be able to keep in
And
contact.
I'm guessing that probably like myself, that most of your contacts on social media are friends and family. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, that's correct.
So
So
probably
obviously it's
not.
not exactly the correct demographic, really.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I'm a psychologist, and in a similar situation to you, I need to carry out an experiment and gather a lot of primary data. And so I turned to Altspace. I'm part of this group, Psychology VR, and I found Altspace to be a really good platform for talking to people like yourself and for carrying out research, especially interview style research, focus groups. As you can see, we're in this wonderful 3D room where you can bring people in, you can have discussions, but also you can carry out questionnaires inside of Altspace, and that's something I want to show you today as part of this short discussion.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
I know within psychology we try to do both qualitative and quantitative research. We call that the gold standard, a mixed methods type study. And Altspace is a perfect place to do that. I'm not sure if you know, but there's around about 30. Well, by the last count in 2017, Altspace had 35,000 users a week. And
Wow.
them users, they range from age 14 up to, I think the oldest person I spoke to in Altspace was in their late 80s. So there's a really good demographic and people from all over the world. So you've got a real selection of people to go and interview, and lots of different opportunities as well. So inside of Altspace, there is a VR church community. They meet every twice a week. There are social events. There are educational events. There's another group that I take part in called Educators in VR. They have events every Tuesdays, and now on Wednesdays they have workshops. So there's a whole range of people you can talk to in here to be able to carry out your research.
There, that sounds a lot easier than using Skype because obviously not as many people really respond.
Well, I think as well. I find in psychology sometimes face to face or video, shall we say, video face to face, can be a little bit intrusive. It's not
Yeah,
as
it's a bit
easy
daunting at
as
times.
meeting. Exactly. Whereas, how do you find the VR experience? I know it's only your first time in here, but do you find this a bit easier to communicate like
Yeah,
this?
yeah, no, definitely, definitely. It's a lot
Cool.
more chilled and relaxed sort of situation to
Brill.
meet someone in.
Well, what I'd like to do, if it's okay, is I'd like to start off by showing you how we can do a presentation. So if I'll just go over to the main board here, and what I'm going to show you is how we can present on this board, and then show you some of the tools that Altspace has to offer. Okay, George, so what I wanted to do now was just show you how we can use presentations inside Altspace, just like in the real world. So this is a standard PowerPoint presentation. I have had to adapt it slightly and upload it onto the slides.com service that's available on the internet. It's a free service, but that just allows us to then access the PowerPoint inside of Altspace. So what I thought I'd do is just share with you a couple of steps to get you started as a researcher inside of Altspace. So just go to the next slide. So the first step you've already done today, you've created your Altspace account and you've downloaded the software to your PC, and you've created this avatar. For anybody else who hasn't got an Altspace account, this is obviously the first step. If you are fortunate to have an Oculus Rift or Oculus Quest headset, then you can download the Altspace app from the Oculus store. I also want to just show that you can actually play videos inside of your presentation. So I'll just start this short video just to show you how that works. And as you can see, that's going to be playing live now to your audience who will be able to hear that. Sounds okay, George? Yeah, you can hear that.
Yeah,
Okay?
perfect. Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, good. So if we just go to the next slide.
Feel free to interact with any of the other people.
So the second thing you're going to want to do, and this is the next step for you really, George, is to join a community group like Psychology VR or Educators in VR. Educators in VR, they run sessions every Tuesday evening, as I mentioned to you earlier, and workshops on Wednesday. This is Evelien, and Evelien is the leader for the research team inside of Educators in VR. So that's certainly one place you should consider checking out first. All of the researchers should be able to give you lots of tips and tricks on how to get started inside of Altspace and how to use some of the tools that are available to you. The next slide. And so the third step, and this is something that Evelien discovered recently when we were taking part in a workshop, is that we can use a web-based questionnaire or survey company called Qualtrics to actually run some pretty decent questionnaire styles, survey type questionnaires inside of Altspace, and allows us to do things like multiple choice questioning or long and short answer questions. We can do sliders, we can do matrix. There's a whole range of analytical tools available through Qualtrics. And in the next part of this guide, I'd like to show you just how that works inside of Altspace.
Right, that was perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So once you've set up your survey inside of Qualtrics, George, you're going to need to show your participants how to find that. So you're going to have to tell them to click on this browser button here. This will bring up the web browser inside of Altspace, and they simply type in the web address. And you'll notice I've shortened this using a tiny URL. It's a free service that helps you to shorten web addresses. And they will find then your survey. Now what's really useful to note here, George, is that only they can see this. Nobody else in the room can see the survey that they're clicking on. So that means it's private to them, which is absolutely perfect for carrying out anonymous questionnaires. You can provide obviously whatever information you want to provide them with. In this example, I've provided them with a consent form, and you'll notice that if they don't complete the consent form, it won't let them continue. So that's really useful. So you can ensure that they have to give a response before they can continue on. And then just a few more examples here. You can do short entry, short text entry, or you can do multiple choice type questions. You can also do sliders, which are really useful in this example. And also another example here of a slider. And what's really useful for psychologists like myself is we can do these full questionnaires where they have to answer, various different statements. These are very standard tools within psychology, very useful. And then at the end, you can have a customized message, and if you like, you can request that they give you further details. give you an email address, for example, and then finally clicking next. Actually, here it's worth noticing that you can see here that the tools behind the box sometimes get in the way, so you can just turn the view of your character slightly to make sure that you can access that button. Just something worth noting. And then they get a message telling them that the survey's been completed, and then they can close that browser window down, and then you can continue with your interviews and various questions.